Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our webinar today on the use of IP geolocation for targeted online advertising and content. During the session today, we're going to focus on the basics. My name is Aubriana Lopez. I'm the lead strategist for mobile here at Digital Element, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Digital Element is the world leader and inventor of IP geolocation worldwide. Our headquarters opened here in Atlanta, Georgia in the United States in 1999, and we also have a local presence in Washington and Tennessee in the United States. We have European presence in Spain and the UK, and we also count on distributors in Japan. Latin American operations are managed from the headquarters in Atlanta. And today's webinar is going to be presented by Jorgelina Streetinger. She's our Director of Business Development for Latin America. Jorgelina has 12 years of experience in the world of advertising and digital marketing, and for the past 2 years she's focused on introducing this technology to Latin American companies in advertising, content, e-commerce, and more. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to use the chat section, and at the end we will close and Jorgelina will be able to answer all of your questions. So let's welcome Jorgelina.
Hello, Brianna. Thank you for having me, and welcome you all. Today, we are going to be talking, like Brianna said, about the basics, a little bit about digital elements, technology, IP, intelligence, the applications that you can use this in, how we implement this technology, and at the end, we're going to close with some question and answers. This presentation should take about 20 minutes, giving us enough time for your questions at the end.
Great. Jorgelina, so tell us, what is an IP?
Thank you, Brianna. An IP, to start with the basics, we have to understand what an IP is. An IP, or Internet Protocol, is a numerical label that is assigned to each device. It can be a computer, tablet, or cell phone, which is participating in a computer network that uses the IP for communications. An IP address serves two principal functions. One is to host or network interface identification and location addressing.
And how are these IPs allocated and registered?
There are organizations throughout the globe which job is to allocate these IPs. Today we're going to concentrate in LATAM. In LATAM we have three main organizations that serve as the, let's say, providers of these IP blocks. One is LACNIC. Then we also have the Registro de Brazil and the ERR, the Internet Addresses and Resources of Mexico. LACNIC is the Latin America and Caribbean Internet Addresses Registry. It's an international non-governmental organization which was established in Uruguay in 2002. It's responsible for assigning and administering Internet numeric resources, autonomous system numbers, reverse resolution, and other resources for the region of Latin America and the Caribbean. It is one of the 5 regional Internet registries that exists worldwide. Organizations in Mexico should request IPs directly to the EAR Mexico, and those in Brazil to the National Registry of Brazil. Now, once an IP has been assigned, the ISP, the Internet Service Provider, is responsible for registering the IPs with the name of the city where this IP will be used by the end user. Generally, here is where we have trouble with these registries. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what those troubles are. There are 4 things that can happen at the time of registration. One is that the IP is never registered. This occurs in about 20% of the time. The ISPs register sometimes all the blocks of IPs that it receives in the city where their headquarters is located. The problem with this is that if somebody comes into a site that is using a public registry, they will see the same city over and over, even though the actual user may be coming from another city. Another problem that these registries usually encounter is that the blocks of IPs are registered in the capital of the state of the province, making it hard to understand when somebody is coming into a website from a smaller city that may be adjacent to this large city. Fourth, dynamic IPs are allocated to a new city by the ISP, many times just to manage their traffic. But this record is not updated. So even if they place the IP in the right city at the beginning, most likely they will not re-register that IP when it's changed cities.
So what's the difference between what you've told us about the public records and digital elements technology?
So digital element works completely different. Like you mentioned, digital element was born in 1999. It works with a patented technology that has about 20 different proprietary methods. This includes traceroute analysis, host name processing, ping time measurement and triangulation, and also human intervention tools. We're going to speak about the latest human intervention tools when we get to the zip code level information. But for now, let me tell you a little bit about how it works in the network infrastructure analysis perspective. Digital element uses a web spidering technology, sending search engines into the internet routing infrastructure to understand where an IP is touching before it reaches the endpoint. The endpoint is the ISP endpoint. This can be a DSLAM, CMTS, or a POP server. Understanding where that last point the IP has touched, we can then derive where a user is coming from with 97% certainty globally at a city level. This makes us understand where a user is located without basing our knowledge in those public registries that can be erroneous.
So you're not depending on the internet providers to get the location data?
No, absolutely not. We don't depend on the ISP providers. As a matter of fact, there are many ISP that are our clients because they trust our technology and they utilize us for different services that they might provide or their own content.
And from what I understand, there's various pieces of information for each IP. What are these data pieces that you can tell?
So in IP, like we mentioned before, you can tell the geographic location, and that includes country, city, region, which might be a state or a province, and also zip or postal codes. But an IP also carries other pieces of information that we can derive from it, such as language, the regions, the connection type that the user is using, that might be broadband, mobile, Wi-Fi. We can also include the Latin long of the center of that zip code or city, phone area code, company name. If that IP belongs to a company, we're going to be able to tell you what is that company name, what's the domain. We also can tell you what ISP a user is using. We also have a database of proxies. Proxies are important when you're trying to protect from fraud, so you can understand when somebody is hiding behind another IP that might not be the actual IP to where they're coming from. We can also understand if the IP is a home or a business. If it's a business, we have industry codes that we can tell you which industry this business falls into. And for some countries, we also offer demographic information.
Okay, so you can tell more than just city with this technology.
Absolutely. We can see 99.9999% of the globe of IPs. We can see with a 90% accuracy what IP is coming from which city at a 97% accuracy level globally. But also, we can tell you the zip code. And let me tell you a little bit about how this works. So with our regular targeting technology, we can understand, we can go down from a country level down to the region targeting level and bring that even farther down into the city level. Now, depending on the density of a city, that radius might be 25 miles, depending on how dense and populated that city is, how many ISP points we can find in one city. But through our trace analogy, that's as far as we can go. Now, NetAcuity Edge provides this technology of infrastructure routing, plus associations with some of our customers in e-commerce have allowed us to combine this technology that is patented with user-derived information. We place that user-derived zip code information into our algorithms to understand if this zip code makes sense for that city. We look at it from a million different points of view, and then if it makes sense and that zip code really belongs to that city, that zip code will be included in our database. What this does for our customers is that we can bring down that radius from 25 miles down to 2 to 5 miles. This is a fantastic adjustment of the data and the granularity that can be offered. You can now get even farther down into a city and understand at a postcode level where your customers are located and be able to provide content and offers that are relevant to them at a more granular level.
Jorgelina, can you tell us a little bit about how this works on mobile?
Absolutely. There are a few things that first we have to understand about mobile targeting. With IP intelligence, you're going to have two methods of connecting to the internet on a mobile device. You can either be connected through Wi-Fi, or you can be connected through a mobile carrier or a cell phone tower. When you're talking about a Wi-Fi connection, it is great because you can get down to postcode level information. This is a fixed point, and it works just as if somebody was connected through broadband. Now, when somebody is connected to cell towers, that connection might be different. Why? Because the signal travels through different cell towers until it reaches the end point of the ISP that we were mentioning before. It could be at this lamp, for example. Once it touches that end point, we can understand where that person is located in that city. Now, the problem with that might be that that signal might have traveled a longer distance that we feel confident or we feel comfortable with, making it not as granular as if somebody was connected to a Wi-Fi connection. Now, there's good news about this. One of the things is, and the most important, is that 80% of all the mobile traffic that we see come through to our servers comes from Wi-Fi. This is great. Why? Because you can reach that granularity of zip code level. And the other 20% comes from tower. And we can tell you if there's somebody connected through Wi-Fi or somebody connected to a carrier.
And Digital Element has the information for this type of information for all of the IPs?
Yes. So that's one thing that it's very different about a provider perhaps using a public registry than Digital Element. We can see all of the routable IPs in the world. What this means is that we can see 250 billion IP addresses per month from over 1 million different points of view, making it this highly accurate and comprehensive.
Okay, can you maybe show us some examples of the use of this technology now?
Oh, absolutely. Let's check out some examples. So our customers usually will utilize this technology of IP geolocation to target online advertising. This means to deliver hyperlocal offers and allows you to charge up to 50% more for your inventory. You can localize your content if you have different notes or different products for different areas in different cities. You can definitely use our technology to be able to increase online engagement and improve the response rates that you receive. We've seen a response rate increase of up to 300% and conversion rates up to 7 times using this technology. A lot of our clients use this technology to enhance analytics. It predicts better user behavior based on the geodemographic segments that we provide. You can also, like we mentioned before, you can simplify the mobile targeting. You can provide location relevant content with no user opt-in required, which is huge in the mobile space. Other clients use our data to manage digital rights. This means to control distribution of digital media based on the user location. and prevent online fraud. A lot of our clients use not only our geographic database, but also our proxy database to be able to validate the user locations for mission-critical security applications. Now, to show you a little bit of our content localization examples, here we have an example where automatically selects the international edition, and it allows the users to change the preferences. You can also highlight local content for visitors based on the city or the zip code where they're located. In this case, we have an e-commerce customer which is using it to provide content that is relevant depending on the weather. So, for example, right now in South America, we have spring, summer coming up, and in North America, we have fall, winter coming up. So the content that you're going to be able to provide in each continent is going to be different. This not only can be used internationally, but within the same city. In, for example, Mexico, Brazil, you have different weather and different types of products that are most used in different cities. So you can certainly drill down to a more granular aspect and then provide information that is relevant to those living in those cities. In this case, we have content localization example where they've used it to show not only notes that may be relevant to somebody living in that city, but also show weather, events that are important, or things that are happening right then and now. In this case, we have online advertising where the advertising itself is localized, showing highly granular and targeted advertising. Let it be banners, or it can also be in the form of notes. As I mentioned before, geographic rights management complies with licensing and copyright agreements. For this, you can not only use our geographic databases, but also our proxy databases. If somebody's located in a different place, they may be using a proxy IP to enter your site. You can recognize this proxy and then take action. For online fraud prevention, customers that are highly susceptible to fraud might be able to use this information to block users when they're coming in from an email address that might be different. From an IP address, from an IP address that might be different from the one that they have in record. A little bit about the mobile publisher example. This is what we were talking about before in terms of if you're using Wi-Fi or you're using cell towers. You can provide information that is a lot more static or interactive when you're using one or the other. If somebody's on towers, you might choose to give them static information, while if somebody is coming in using a Wi-Fi connection, you can choose to give them more interactive content, perhaps heavier in terms of not only videos, but also more pictures and notes and so forth. In the e-commerce example, we have several uses for this. One of them obviously is to automatically recognize the language, price, product set, and delivery options. You can also combine this with real-world events such as weather to create a contextual or relevant product range and offers. But also you can show the right currency, the right products for the area, and shipping and what kind of shipping is available.
So this all looks fabulous. Jorgelina, can you show us how it works actually now?
Yeah, it's very simple in terms of the application and how it connects to your server. The implementation of the NetAcuity server works very simply. The web user enters your page through the internet, then the content server at that point requests the IP address location to our NetAcuity server through an API. NetAcuity responds to your content server in 0.03 milliseconds, giving you the location of that IP user. Once you have the location, the right content can be loaded. We work with all operating systems and applications. We provide support for a variety of popular platforms and work with the most common application programming interfaces, languages. So you'll be sure that we're able to apply this technology without any problem. Usually our clients see that they can set it up in about 20 minutes and then make the logic depending on how much work they have to do and how many pages they want to localize, about 24, 48 hours.
And what types of customers are currently using this technology?
We have a wide variety of clients. Here are some examples. We have BBC, and they do it for news and content. You can have customers in video. We also work with Apple Mobile, Twitter, and Facebook for their applications and advertising. DoubleClick, it's an ad server, eBay, eCommerce. So we work with a wide variety of companies in all verticals.
Okay, I see a lot of large enterprises. Does this mean that small companies cannot access this product, or?
No, absolutely not. This is not developed just for large companies. And the reason is that the pricing is done through scale of the IP queries that you need to make. So if you're in a small company, you're going to have smaller amount of IP queries that you are going to need, so you still have access to highly accurate information and not have to break your bank.
Can you show us any success stories on how customers have seen return on investment?
Absolutely. So I think I mentioned this in one of the other slides. Targeting grows more attractive when you have geolocalized information, and click-through rates can increase from 30% to 300%. We have seen premiums go up 50% via geo-targeting, and consumers are 6 to 7 times more likely to click on something when it's geo-targeted because they can see that it's relevant to them.
Wow, this is great information. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Jorgelina. Perhaps we could take some questions from the public if anybody has.
Absolutely. Let's take some questions, Sabrina. Thank you so much for this time, and I appreciate everyone attending today.